Welcome to the season finale of Season 5 of Whole Lot of Wolves. I'm Joshua Buckley with co-host Paul LePage.
Hi, everyone.
We got Alex, executive producer.
Hello.
We have Danny on the socials in Baltimore.
Good evening.
And then we also brought back for this season finale some of our guests who made their first appearance this season. That would be Joe Deluski from Michigan Wolves.
Hello.
Then we got Roy Googe from Minnesota Wolves.
Hey there.
Drew Breyer from Pittsburgh Wolves. And
Hi, everybody.
in Denver, it's Greg Ellis. How's it going, guys?
Doing well.
All righty. Well, let's jump to it. Wolves did not end the season with 3 points, unfortunately. They did get 1 point, though. And it was a 1-1 draw against Brentford. Another Geddes signing, Paul. Little defensive wobbles early. Overall, what did you think of the performance?
For a end of season last home game, I think it was pretty decent. It had all of the makings of potentially being that on the beach vibe. Certainly Brentford had something to play with initially, but when the results started changing, it kind of it seemed to take the wind out of their sails a little. But I thought for the most part, it had some more positives than we showed against Brighton. But there was always that unnerving feeling that we looked a little susceptible defensively, maybe a little bit more so on the break, whether it comes down to concentration of the defensive unit, that the pressure's off and we haven't got that urge to really play as tight as possible. Maybe that's been kicking in somewhat. But I thought offensively, overall, it was a decent enough showing. Maybe could have won, probably draw, fair result.
Yeah, I agree. Probably fair result. Danny, it really seemed like, though, especially in the first half, Wolves were the better team.
Yeah, I thought we at least looked a lot more lively than we did in the last two. Just a little more coherent, and maybe that's just sticking to a closer to the tried and trusted starting 11 than we have recently. I mean, I know the Crystal Palace one, there's sort of a big asterisk over that one with the starting lineup, but even so, feel like we've drifted partly as injuries and players who don't want to be risked and whatever, but this lineup felt pretty solid, and I think it showed. We were just a little more confident, especially at the back. The goal aside, we looked fairly comfortable defending Brentford, who have scored plenty of goals this season.
Joe, I think Giancarlo Geddes, that performance pretty much summed up his Wolves career in a nutshell. Just a whole lot of, what are you doing out there?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the same thing. It was opportunity and miss and opportunity and miss, and I think it sums up the year and the career that he's had here.
What do you think about it, Drew? I mean, were you expecting him to come through at all in these last few games where he's been starting?
So the first time, yes. By this time, no. Was I expecting it? Maybe expecting is too strong of a word. I sure was hoping for something as the old proverbial shop window. It really shows. When we have a true number 9 Strand Larson in there, the header in the first half that wasn't even put on target, and then obviously the obvious miss in the second half. I feel like Jorgen Berry's both one, if not both of those. I mean, it was as you said, it's what we've come to know about Giancarlo after all these years.
I think in the few flashes that we've seen him, there's some quality there, but is he just such that streaky a player that he's needed to have a run of games or have a better fit than what he's shown? Because it's funny, I was watching that end of season collaboration that they put together and sent out on the socials today, And like you forget that Geddes featured in Vitor's first game. So he's possibly seen something right from the get-go in Geddes that he's always been there or thereabouts. He's always had more opportunity than Wang based on fitness. Even if he's had a bollocking and has been taken away from the squad, he's come back in. So there's always that element with him. But I think this could be one from Sunday where, to us watching, he didn't seem as effective as he was in that game at home against Villa, where he looked pretty decent. But one thing that kept on reminding me, and possibly something that we miss just watching on the screen, was the amount of times Dave Edwards was talking him up in terms of the space that he was creating. A good 2 or 3 times he mentioned that. And that makes you think, well, are we generally missing anything? Or is there something that is bringing to the collective that we don't obviously see? But when you get that chance effectively put on a plate to you, like the one from Manetzi in the second half, and he was like on the penalty spot, that's got to be hitting the back of the net as a Premier League attacker 99% of the time.
I think David Copey would have slotted that one home, guys, in the supporters game. What do you think? Congrats, David, on that. Ray, I definitely tweeted out. Have you seen that infomercial with the guy who's going to the car wash and he's like fumbling everything? That seems to me like the Manetzi Geddes combo in a nutshell. Just the two of them. I think he maybe one, but not two, right?
I was going to say maybe one, but not two. It's hard to say that after that goal. I know Manetzi gets a lot of stick because he makes a lot of chances. Like he, pulls things out of nowhere. He obviously runs his butt off all game, which we obviously needed. But I don't know. It's different with Gedge. I think I don't know. He's never had the right spirit for this club. He's never really, put himself in a position to like get the backing of the supporters or anything like that. So it's unfortunate. So to see him like muffin things and just missing all of these chances. I don't know. Manetzi, maybe it's new. Maybe, we'll be saying similar things about him in 2 years or something. But I don't know. It's always been different with Gonzalo for me. So a lot less grace for him not hitting the target. And he also came in with that pedigree, It was like he's supposed to come in and do that. Like Manetzi is like, all the goals we get from him are gravy, except for the fact that he's been up front.
Greg, I'm reminded with you being in Colorado, the scene in Dumb and Dumber where he trades in the shaggin' wagon to get the little moped, and he's like, just when I didn't think you could get any stupider, you do something like that and totally redeem yourself. And that was Manetzi with his absolute worldy goal that just out of nowhere, too. By the way, Agbadu's goal kick started up. Nice header by Strand Larson. Nice little touch right to Manetzi on the first touch. That had to be one of the most surprising moments of the season, no?
I mean, it was what I call it was a 4-4-2 goal, 6'4" to 6'4" to 6'2" Manetzi. And it's always good when you see a centre back taking the goal kicks. I don't know whether Sard just decided he didn't want to do it that day, or he got a twinge or something like that. But I mean, what it does is it opens up an opportunity next season. I was looking, there's some definite height in this squad. I think, Paul, you're a man of many inches as well, I believe, like myself.
Pause.
As they say. And that Route 1 as an option, I know that Strand Larson not particularly good in the air. We'll probably talk about where Sasha Kleidic is going later at 6'7". Yusuf Mosquera is up there as well. I don't know, he's like around 6'3" or something. There's some real height in that squad in key areas, and that could be something that Vitor Pereira maybe sort of plays as a plan F, plan G towards the end, sticking Peter Crouch on kind of thing. But that it was a phenomenal goal. I think it's exactly what he needed. In a way, it was a shame that the season finished at that point, 15 minutes after that, because it's been coming. But yeah, a thunder bastard, as I think it's known in the business, and a really good goal. He took it well, and I'm hoping, I think, as I just said, like given an off season, he's come in halfway through. Agbadu came in and hit the ground running, which I think was more useful for us. But with the right coaching and with the right players coming in and the right formation and the right kind of options around him, he could be quite an influential player next season. And we had a similar thing with Adama Traore as well. If you remember back to eventually he started coming good and pinging those balls into Jimenez from the wing, and they found a kind of way of playing to his strengths rather than his weaknesses. And I think that's what we're gonna see with Menezzi, hopefully.
I think with his goal, all he could do was hit it. He didn't have any time to think. It was just instinctive. Yet that first chance, the chance he had in the first half when he was through on the right-hand side, you just saw the confidence evaporate from him, and the finish showed. But given that opportunity in that second half, that was something else. So more of that type of service, everything that just mentioned, then you got some talent, I suppose.
I do like how Greg mentions to me and Alex on this podcast that I don't know if you remember Adama Traore doing this. Yes, we remember our sweet prince.
But he's just extended his contract at Fulham, so is Jimenez. But you can see that there's definitely a way in there that you can play to his strength and then try to mitigate the weakness that he might have in front of goal.
He has no weakness. Paul, you said you did not feel Sarabia should have had goal of the season because it was a set piece. And I assume by that you mean Menezzi should have had this goal, should have been goal of the season.
No, purely Cunha, just because he had so many opportunities, and that's who I put down in our start of the season predictions. So you could have had Cunha like 2 or 3 times. That's who I believe should win it. But yeah, Menezzi's definitely up there.
So speaking of Cunha, he got a nice little farewell, some cheers. Was anybody surprised by that? Raise a hand. Any surprises? Nope, not any surprises. We called it last week on a whole lot of Wolves. He's still really well liked, and it looks like now off to Manchester United. Joe, what would you have told Manchester United when they called asking to pay that $62.5 million in 5 installments?
Well, it's a big dollar amount, and I would say he's a unique talent. He will deliver, and he will bring Manchester United somewhere north of 15th position in the Premier League. Sometimes his confidence can border on cocky, but he's delivered big moments, and he can lift the team up when he needs to. And from Wolves' perspective, it leaves a gap, a creativity gap that's going to probably need to be addressed. And that's something that he'll bring to the other team as well.
Yeah, Ray, what would you have told them if they asked for, instead of the 3 payments? Oh, let's spread it out over 5 years.
I don't make a big habit of cursing, but in what fucking universe are you doing that? Over 5? I'm sorry. That was a little strong. But
tell Sir Jim Ratcliffe to go cancel some more hot lunches for meals and get that paid in 2 years, man. Do what you got to do. I don't know. Cut the team buses. They can go on a hiking trip if the game is close enough.
I guess, Alex, you miss all the shots that you don't take, right?
Yeah, I also feel like they're probably they have to budget for the buyout for Amorim in October, right? So they have to make sure they save enough money in the bank for that when they let him go. So maybe that was part of it.
Also saying his goodbyes was Nelson Semedo. Looks like going back to Benfica. Drew, are you surprised at all by that?
I guess surprised, no, because we sort of did see this coming. You know, I guess the Wolves supposedly made a last second or a last end of the month kind of pitch to him for a 4-year contract for a 31-year-old going on 32. You know, I guess once I saw the footage of the video being shot and the moving vans, or the removal vans, I guess we should call them, at his house, that it was pretty inevitable. But you know, it's a bummer to see again what, like, our fifth captain in 4 years, or sixth in 5 years, whatever it is, heading out the door.
You mentioned that contract. Take this with a grain of salt, but I talked to a guy who knows a guy who's in the know. Semedo basically has a lot of built-in stuff in his contract, like kids going to private school, private chef, masseuse, all that being paid for. Fosun's trying to get away from that, according to my source, and they offered him a flat fee, which was just so they could go, hey, we offered you something. But very interesting, because some of the bigger players may be wanting that stuff in the contract, and Fosun trying to get away from that. As I said, take it with a grain of salt, if you will. Who is the captain next year? I'm going to go real quick through everybody. Just tell me real quick, and then I'll come back to you with maybe a response on it. Joe, who's your captain next year?
João Gomez.
João Gomez. Danny?
Agbadu or new signing.
Okay. Drew?
Agbadu.
Alex?
Agbadu.
Paul?
Show Gomez.
Ooh. Ray?
I'm gonna say Doc.
Doc. Ooh, that's a good.
I like that.
Greg?
I'll say Agbadu, I think, because I know he's going to be an ever present.
Right. Well, go ahead and say why Agbadu.
I mean, if you see how he marshals the team look at the difference with him and look at the difference without him. And I think that kind of steal, and you know, when this was a criticism that was leveled at Kilman a little bit, that he wasn't the most vocal on the pitch. You know, he led by example, but not necessarily vocally. And if you think back at Cody, you know, Agbadu, I think, is the kind of player that could do that, and he's in the right position on the field. I think, being in defence, that he can see the whole game. And I think if you consider when we don't look good and when we fall apart, when we have those kind of like ricks, it's normally in the defensive area, and you know, you could see him being quite useful at sort of bringing that back together.
Mm-hmm. Ray, how about Doc?
Yeah, he's loyal to the club. Like he's you know, I think he, you know, proved himself to be like a significant part of this team, and I know, you know, he's probably going to play less next season. So, you know, I say that with a grain of salt, but I think, I don't know, at this point, why not try a guy who's maybe not in the starting 11 every week, but is truly loyal to the club. If we're going to break the curse that we've developed here, you know, I would rather it be somebody who's really going to struggle to leave, as opposed to, you know, somebody like Agba, who, you know, would have the great season, the captain title, and then would immediately get snapped up by someone.
João Gomez, a little too young to be captain? You say no?
Nah, I see somebody who leads by example, right? And I saw the same thing in Lamina too. You know, works hard, leads by example, doesn't always let the emotions get the best of him. But you know, I think João Gomez solidified the whole central field from back to front, and I think he's somebody who can continue to solidify it, go down the road. I just see him as a good middle captain.
Danny, I hope you're going to tell us later who your new signing is. You think it'd be captain? Because something tells me you have somebody in your mind. No?
No, not a chance.
That would be crazy for a new signing just to be captain. And interesting. Well, speaking of player of the season, who called it a few weeks ago that the players' player of the season would be Matheus Cunha? Oh, this guy. Hi. Called that. Seemed a little obvious to me. However, supporters' player of the season, which I think is really more indicative of this true season for Wolverhampton, was João Gomez. Does anybody think someone else deserved to get that award? Raise your hand real quick. Nope, all João Gomez. Why is that, Paul?
I think for overall just impact, that it's not flashy goals all the time, but it's that hard-working, box to box, blue collar mentality that Wolves fans locally will buy into time and time again over any type of prima donna exploits and glasses stealing or anything like that that you can find from some others. So I think it just checks all of those boxes, and to wrap all that up, that's why I'm in line with Joe. When to me you're looking at captaincy material, you're looking at the types of quality that Ruben Neves used to bring, and at a younger age as well. So it encompasses it all for me with João Gomez.
I think you could have made an argument for Agbadou though as well, because this season was kind of a tale of a few seasons. I'm going to go around real quick. You guys just give me a number or a grade, A to F. You can have pluses and minuses. How would you grade this season, Paul, overall?
C.
C. Alex?
C minus.
Drew?
Actually had a C plus.
C plus. Danny?
C minus.
C minus. Joe? Joe? Are you there? Oh, he's thinking.
I'm with Drew. I'm a C plus.
C plus. Greg?
I'll go
C plus.
Okay. And then Ray?
I'm gonna go C minus.
C minus. Everybody's got C's. Okay. Vitor Pereira, A through F. What we got, Paul?
A minus.
Alex?
A.
Okay. Drew?
A minus with Paul.
Danny?
I'll go B plus.
B plus. Ooh, such a hater. Joe? I think Joe is a
B plus. I'm with Danny.
Okay. Greg?
A.
No, B plus.
B plus. Okay. And then Ray?
A minus.
A minus. Okay. Was this season any form of success, Paul?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Alex?
Fine. Sure. Yeah.
I guess, was it a successful season for everybody? Yes or no?
In comparison to a colossal failure, yes.
Danny says no. Why, Danny?
I think, although it may be slightly boring and trite, I think really this summer is going to tell, because the only positive I can see out of it is if we learn something from this season. And there was that Sky article 2 or 3 weeks ago that sort of detailed this supposed vibe shift after Vitor Pereira came in, and Jeff Shee and Matt Hobbs really took a hard look at themselves and changed some things around the players. And I think some parts of the fan base have seen that as like, oh, we've changed now. We're going to be different. But I read that and just saw that, a lot of the changes that they made were truly vibes, which can't be discounted, but also it should be pointed out, those are all pretty cheap changes to make. And they are not changes that require 20 million pound outlays on a single player, et cetera. So I think that, like, if we think that this season is a success, it can only be because we've learned our lesson and won't end up, within 3 places or so of the relegation zone next season. And I think the jury is still out on that one.
Mm-hmm. Ray?
Danny, I hear that for sure, and it's part and parcel to what I'm thinking. Pereira is just an obvious upgrade. Like, we can ruin it next season, like over the summer even. But I was not a total Gary O'Neill hater, but it's really hard to argue. This was not a new manager bounce that we got. It was just like structure and a direction and leadership that the team could get behind. So I see that as a win for this season. But if we didn't learn those lessons, then it'll be a short-term victory.
I'm not lessons being learned just from the standpoint that we are now 48 hours into the season having concluded. Matheus Cunha already stood in the middle of the pitch at Molineux and talked about his new manager before it even became official, even though this thing's been done forever ago. And now Ryan Aït-Nouri is a target for Manchester City, and there's no way Jeff Shee is going to turn that type of money down, because that money is, in terms of any financial resource on the planet, is closest thing to unlimited, and they are willing to spend that. So within a span of you fast forward a week from now, there's a very good chance that we'll lose our 2 best players who link up extremely well together on one side of the pitch. So we'll basically have our 2 most creative, attack-minded players on one whole half of the pitch gone. And my guess is there will at some point be some conversation to be had about the budget for an outlay this summer, which has still not happened yet. And what we've seen, the pattern goes, Vitor Pereira gets pissed off because he's like, you can't expect to replace Matheus Cunha, Ryan Aït-Nouri, possibly more with just that amount of money. And then so we go on and on in the carousel. So I hate to be negative, but I mean, the vibe shift was cool and the points of the pints were cool, but it's only as good as, Fosun's backup plan for all of these players that are apparently going to be sold, let alone the ones that are leaving for free, who I think really matter. I mean, your captain and even a player like Sarabia, you can laugh at it, but like, he's an experienced player who came through in some pretty big moments. That's another big thing to replace. And you don't find that very cheap. There's not a lot of 25 to 28, prime year players with some experience in a big league who are going to come play for, a wage that is well under what Sarabia warranted, right? So anyway, I hope they learned. I really do, but we'll see.
We'll see. Well, guys, we're looking back at our preseason predictions. Joe, you were on our first episode and helped make those preseason predictions, even though they weren't so great. Paul and Joe both got that Cunha would be the leading scorer, and Joe was closest with 15. Not bad. Let's see. Alex and Danny had Strand Larson. Okay. I had Rodrigo Gomez. So next, it was player of the season. Danny said Cunha. Good job. Good job. Paul said Mosquera, which I feel like that was a little rough because he was playing well before he got hurt. Joe, me, you, and Alex had Lamina. I mean, yikes. We had our reasons, though, right, Joe?
Yeah. Hardworking player, had the right vibe at the time, but yeah.
Pick a player in the starting 11 who didn't start a fight with a teammate challenge.
Right.
Goal of the season. Paul still thinks he should be the winner because he said Cunha and it was the best non-set piece goal. We'll give it to him. Joe, you said Huang, who would have to play to score the goal. Same with Danny, took Tommy Doyle. Alex and I took Rodrigo Gomez. Boy, I was drinking the Rodrigo Kool-Aid after that U.S. tour, man. League Cup finish. I said they'd lose in their first match. Well, we already went over the League Cup. FA Cup finish. Paul said they'd go out in the third round. Danny and Joe said fourth round. Alex said semis. And I said win the cup. Oops. My bad. Surprise of the season. Do you think anybody got surprise of the season correct? There was one person who got it correct. And that was Joe. He said double with one of the top 6. I assume he means big 6, not necessarily top 6 in the standings. So we did pull the double on Manchester United. Good job. Alex had Hwang leaving by January. I had an American sign plus a U.S. tour. Danny, Gary O'Neill on the hot seat at the end of October. He also hit me on the head. And Paul had Lima as the right back for Brazil by the end of the season. Not so much. Mid-season was better. Player of the year, we all said Cunha. We all said he would be the top scorer. Same for all of that. So now the mid-season surprises, I said no, they're first-team additions other than one center back, which I was wrong. Paul said Bastian keeps playing on the first team. That was wrong. And Danny said Cunha will be captain, which he was until he wasn't. So
It happened.
It happened. I mean, overall, everybody did way better than me. And not only does that include in the predictions, but also includes in the game predictions as well, where I took a chance, Paul, because I didn't want us to tie, and look at what happened. Danny, you won 34 points. Bravo. Bravo.
Thank you.
Alex with 27. Paul, you got a draw on that last match. You got the point. 22 points. I finished with 21. Now you guys here on the guest Josh Relegated. Paul has a Josh Relegated sign on. Yeah, it was rough. Now you guys didn't do much better. You only got 13 points, but we didn't have a guest every time, so I'll let you. I sucked it up this year in a lot of predictions. Although I was at the last victory of the season, guys. There we go. So now, with the off season is here, silly season is upon us, and so we're going to play a little game of stay or go. Everybody here's got 3 sheets of paper, one that says stay, one that says go on a loan, and one that says go for sell. I'm going to name a player. Everybody's going to raise it up. I'm going to say what everybody picked, and then I'll go to one or two of you to explain. So we are going to start it off. The first player, Jose Sa. Does he stay or does he go? Everybody says stay except for me. I think he goes. I think it was kind of telling that Agbadu was the one taking the goal kicks. So I think he goes. Paul, why do you think he stays?
Bigger priorities to solve first than the goalkeeper.
Okay. Next up, Ryan Aitnery. What's going to happen? Everybody saying sell, sell, sell. Everybody says sold. Drew, who's he going to? Man City?
I'm sure. I mean, it's whoever is going to spend the money. There's just, unfortunately, in our lives as Wolves fans, we just know there's just no way that he's going to sign a new contract, and that like when a bigger club comes calling, that he's not going to go, unfortunately.
Greg, is it going to be Hugo Bueno or Rodrigo Gomez starting at left back, or is there a new signing coming?
Well, if it was left up to you, it'd be Rodrigo Gomez for everywhere, wouldn't it? But we could play Saar as well.
Actually, that is exactly who I have starting at left back.
I think Bueno will come back. I mean, we don't do well in the loan market in terms of our hit rate in bringing them back and re-engaging them. We did well with Mosquera. He went out twice. We've done well with Bueno. I think he's had a good season. So yeah, I'm hoping that he could come back and fill that void. Now I'm not sure whether he'll be. He's not the same kind of player as Aitnouri, and he's obviously not as experienced, even though they're not that far off in age. I don't think. Just that Aitnouri's had about 5 seasons in the Premier League already, so it'll be interesting. But I think if they get an offer they can't refuse, they're just going to have to take it, because if City come with a big checkbook, then you might as well take it and try and catch that before it gets put back into the coffers somewhere else.
So this next one, I think it should be easy, but I've been hearing some differing opinions on it. João Gomez. Stay. Everybody says stay. Joe, what do you got? Stay. Okay, there is sanity in this world. Anybody that thinks João Gomez is leaving is out of their mind. I would risk my Adama Traore signed photo that he will stay. That's how confident I am. Remember, this is the guy that told OM to go fuck off when they tried to take him away from Wolves. João loves Wolverhampton. He just signed the new contract. He's not going anywhere.
Someone take a clip of that, though, because we're messing with Jeff Shee.
Yeah, but I mean, yes, if it was Jeff Shee, I would be worried. But João Gomez has shown he doesn't give a poo what anybody else thinks. And he just signed a new contract. He's staying. Everybody he's not going anywhere.
I think the more nuanced thing between the last two, Ryan and João, is that like if City doesn't come in for Ryan, I think there's a good chance he stays. But like with João, I don't see there being a suitor, and maybe one shows up all of a sudden. But I think that like we're not like flogging him or anything. I agree that I think like, João could go if the money's right. But you got to remember like there's other forces at play. Like the fact that Ryan's been here for 5 years means that basically anything we make on him is pure profit. That's not the case with João. I also think João probably feels more like he has unfinished business here. Ryan doesn't. So like those are the contextual things, but I agree. Like if the right money comes in, I think Jeff Shee's cashing in. So
yeah, he's not going anywhere. I'm fucking staying. All right. Huang. I say sell. Sell. Ooh, Joe and Ray and Danny have stay. The rest of us sell. Alex, why is he being sold?
I think we're at a point now where he just can't be counted on to be on the pitch. And I know that that's not necessarily the best time to sell a guy because you're probably not going to get a great return, but they didn't have a huge outlay of money for him to begin with. There's just not minutes for him here. And personally, I feel like for him, it's probably a better move to leave England and go somewhere where he could play more. I mean, he's still going to be a factor on the South Korean national team. I hate to see him kind of just like waste another few years on the bench here. And I just don't see his natural fit in the style that Vitor wants to play necessarily either. I don't think he's a true 9 who can be a backup behind Strand Larsen. I wouldn't necessarily call him an attacking mid either. I mean, maybe he's a better fit there than Munetsi, who knows? But either way, that's a position we have to address, and I don't think Huang fits it. So if you can move him, take a loss on it, let him kind of, have a few more seasons where he's getting serious minutes and scoring goals, to kind of stay a prominent figure for Korea.
What do you think, Ray? Why is he staying?
I mean, it's a numbers game in a lot of ways. First of all, we can't let everyone go this window.
Jeff C takes that personally.
Yeah, we can't. We shouldn't let everyone go this window. Let me rephrase that. And I mean, there's also the South Korean market. He's still selling tickets. He's still selling merch and all that sort of stuff. So, that's the kind of thing that they're, paying attention to behind the scenes, I'm sure. And, if it's going to come down to, we're losing other attackers. Cunha's gone. We're assuming that Sarabia is out. We'll get to Guedes, we can't sell the whole front line. So somebody's got to stick around. And I would love to see a redemption arc for him. Maybe I just have a soft spot.
All right. Now we get into good ones. Big Sassy. Sasha Kalajic. Let's see. I'm seeing... Okay, there's no sells. Paul, Drew, and Joe say loan. The rest of us... Oh, wait. Greg did say sell. Alex, Danny, me, and Ray said stay. Joe, explain your thinking.
Well, I mean, he's tall. We talked about this earlier. Tall, physical striker. Might not fit Vitor's technical structure, but he's got a fluid attacking style. And I think that he might thrive under another team, another manager, and potentially develop. But I at the same time, I see some talent and asset there that I wouldn't want to get rid of.
Yeah, I think he could actually be a interesting fit with Vitor. Greg, how much do you think they'd get for him if they sold him, though?
That's the worry. I mean, my worry would be if you send him out on loan, he gets injured again. If he stays, does he play? Is he in the model of one of VP's? I joked a little bit about the height thing earlier, but unless Liam develops a throw in like his dad, and you buy him, it's not going to be a go-to tactic. And I don't know whether even if he is at his best, given the way that he was brought into the club, if he is, Premier League quality in a VP team. I don't know. I haven't seen enough of him. And obviously there's the question marks whether he comes back as good as he was before anyway. So I don't know whether you just cut your losses on a player like that, or you keep him around and make a decision that you're going to play a certain way based on the way that the transfer market goes.
Just
I don't know. I could have put all three of them up for that one. I'm not quite sure what you do with him, just given where he is.
Just imagine, guys, it's a cold November night in Sunderland, and starting for Wolves in the top three are Big Sassy, Manetzi, and Hwang. Can they accidentally score a goal?
Sasha will break in half if he plays that game. I think that like with the other pair, Hwang and Sassy both they can be cheap options for backups to Strand Larson, which makes me think there's always a possibility that one or both of them stay.
Yeah, I think especially Sassy. All right. Guedes. Giancarlo Guedes. I'm saying loan. Let's see. Paul says stay. Selling says Alex, Drew, Greg, and Joe. And then me and Ray say loan because I don't think they can get £5 for him at this point after the last few games. Paul, at $90,000 a week, why is he staying?
Because, like you said, he hasn't got the market. So there's not a market for him. He's not done it when he's been out on loan to increase his value. A little like what Ray said as well. We're getting rid of everyone at the moment, so we need some type of body. So I think based on him being higher up on the pecking order and all of those factors, I think he's certainly got a place on the squad unless something crazy happens.
Who all said sell again? Who said sell? Okay. Greg, how much would they get for him?
I mean, it depends who wants him. I mean, that's if he fits into someone's system. What is his current market value on transfer market or something like that? What are we looking at, like 15 million or something like that?
Let's see. We'll look it up.
Just
Alex,
just
do you
out
have
of
any
interest, I'd say like
idea
15 maybe. I mean, he's still young, like enough. He's done a job in the Premier League. He's got experience. He could fit in somewhere if they figure out what it is that's not making him play to his full capacity.
If they get 15, they will sell immediately. I cannot imagine 15 is on the table. It's got to be 8 to 10 would be my guess.
Well, you got the transfer marked amount almost right on. It's 13 million euros, so that's just about right.
Is that over 5 years or one?
Yeah.
That's over 50 years.
Alex,
how much does he give?
A one-to-one swap for a Nissan Qashqai.
Alex, how much does he go for?
10.
10. Joe?
That's what I said, a Nissan Qashqai.
God, we paid 35 million euros for him. Holy shit.
Yeah.
What a bad investment. Okay, now here's going to be a fun one. Fabio Silva. Is this when he finally goes for good? Everybody saying sell. Alex and Joe. What do you guys got? Sell. Just waiting on Joe. He's looking for it. He says sell. Fabio finally hitting the open market. Danny, where's he going?
I mean, the reason why I feel fairly confident is because he's actually got a number of suitors this time, if all the various reports are to be believed. I think the Bundesliga is very possible. I wouldn't even put one on it just because there have actually been several. I actually feel kind of good for him at this moment because it's like the first time since things started to go downhill, which was almost immediately, that he's had kind of an escape route. I think it's like one of those where it's best for both parties. I know everyone's going to bring up Vitinha on Twitter as soon as he gets sold, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. And it's a good time for the club and the player to reset. So I really wouldn't be surprised to see him playing in the Bundesliga, maybe in the bottom half of the table, but I think he'll be happy to be there. He's clearly got talent. Let him go. Like I said many months ago, I'm ready for a different cast of characters to disappoint me.
Let him go. Let him go. It's for the best. It's time, guys. We need that to be over. Okay, this is gonna break Paul's heart. Tommy fucking Doyle. What we got? Oh, let's see. A lot of loans. Greg says sell. Paul says sold. Everybody else says go out on loan. Paul, why is he being sold?
Because he's at that age he wants first team football, and he came to us on loan originally to try and secure that. It didn't work out, so he's going to push for a move to a Leeds, maybe a Sunderland, certainly a top half championship team. I think he'll get a decent move for some minutes.
Even though they have Man City has 50% sell-on clause, right, Danny?
Yeah, that's right. And actually, I'm kind of on the fence between loan and sold, kind of because what Paul said reminds me that I've seen some people say, oh, he could do with a loan. What about one of these promoted teams? If Sheffield got promoted, but it's like, I wouldn't put it past Jeff Shee to do something boneheaded like this, but we just got out of a season where we spent most of it in the relegation zone. I am not giving a halfway decent player to a team that just got promoted.
That's
like,
a good point.
If they want to buy him, then fine. But I am not loaning a perfectly good player to a team that could get relegated.
Yeah, that's a great point. I hope it's a loan just because we don't know if Vitor's here for the long term. We don't know that with managers now, and I'd hate to get rid of somebody who may be a perfect fit in somebody else's system just because he's not a fit in Vitor's system. All right, and last but not least, it is Mr. Boubacar Traore. Ooh, a lot of stays. Me and Paul are the only ones that say sell. Joe and Ray say loan. Ray, why is he going on loan?
Maybe I'm just dumb. Maybe that could be the answer.
Hey, join the club.
I just think, there might just still be a place in this team for him. I could see him, backing up this midfield. I'm just not certain that he's like an absolute no in this system. And I don't know who's backing up these guys right now.
Danny, why is he staying?
I think it's kind of, again, sort of it's a cheap option to keep depth in the midfield. It's just been kind of odd, the players that have not gotten time under Vitor. And I think part of that is just he wasn't messing with a winning team. But he is a more natural fit to come in and replace, João Gomez in the last 10 minutes or something, if we're trying to keep things the same and he's on a yellow card and he's on tilt or whatever. So like the only reason I'm on the fence and think he could be loaned out or, gotten rid of in whatever way is that we have been linked to some midfielders already. And it just makes, we've got too many midfielders in that scenario. So, I don't know. I think he's a cheap option to have depth that I think is not terrible. So I can very much see him staying.
No Stupid Questions is brought to you by Esfuerzo Wines. Located just north of Santa Barbara, California, Esfuerzo Wines showcases passion and 3 generations of winemaking in every bottle. Whether you're toasting some Vino de Vitor or winding down after a day of work, let Esfuerzo Wines transport you to the heart of wine country with each sip. Now at esfuerzowines.com, you can use the promo code VITOR, that's VITOR, at checkout to receive a 30% discount off your order. And don't forget to try the special edition 1-pack wines to show your passion and support for Wolves with each glass. This message is intended for those of legal drinking age. Do not drink and drive. Excessive alcohol consumption may be harmful to your health. If you or someone you know is struggling with alcohol abuse, please seek help. Esfuerzo Wines reminds you to enjoy their product responsibly and in moderation.
No Stupid Questions time, where you, the listener or viewer, can ask anything related to Wolverhampton Wanderers. There's a number of ways you could do so. You could do so on X, where you can reach us at WLW Pod. You can do so on Facebook. You can do so via email, hello@wholelotofwolves.com, or for those watching live on Facebook or YouTube, you can throw your No Stupid Question into the chat, and we can pop it up and address it. So let's get to a couple of questions that were very similar. So we're going to kind of paraphrase them and group them together, from Rogar and Carl Whitehouse on X. What do you think the Fosun financial situation is? How much will Vitor have for squad strengthening? So I guess, Paul, Man United are agreeing to the terms set forth in the release clause, which means that the return on Cunha isn't spread out over 5 years. So that is probably in the bank. We just held up our little sell signs for quite a few guys. Now, how much that Fosun reinvests, I don't know. If you had to put a number on what you think like they'll have to spend this summer, which seems like they need a pretty big squad overhaul, what would that number be?
I think roughly ish around 120 million. In that you've got your Cunha, you've got your Ryan Aitner in there. I'm just hoping that Fabio has somehow got value left in him to be a bonus sale that brings in some cash. You wrap all that together, and then maybe throw in a couple of other departures for a decent-ish chunk. Then throw in the saving on wages from the likes of Sarabia and those big earners. I think that's what you're going to end up with.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I heard that number, I mean, I'd be pretty pleased with that, actually. But again, we will see. So as we look forward to, that transfer kitty for Vitor, why don't we quickly just address a signing that we think is going to happen for Wolves this summer? Does anyone have we haven't been rumored with a ton of guys, but guys we used to be rumored with always come up. Drew, what do you think? Who's your guy that you could see in the old gold in a couple of weeks or a month or so?
Yeah. So my signing I'm nearly certain will happen will be Kyle Walker-Peters, and because he's on a free. Only reason. I mean, they will need to. I'm guessing they're going to need to address Semedo and Aitnouri, and I think they will appreciate his price tag, and I think they will, tell Vitor, hey, here's a guy with some Premier League experience that you can work your magic with.
Yeah, I could see that. Josh, do you have someone that you've got picked to come here?
Yeah, and I think this one's definitely going to happen. It's going to be James McAtee. He's going to come in and fill one of those 2 number 10 roles that Vitor's wanting, and it's probably going to be in the Aitner deal. I think that's a very good possibility of happening. Also, I think another one that has a very good possibility is Fofana, the goalkeeper in France for Angers. I think he's another one that's going to be the new starting goalkeeper.
I like it. Angers, for those who want to get it pronounced correctly, but I do love the attempt. I can see that. I like that. All right. And then how about this? Maybe not when we say, okay, this is realistic and I see it happening, but a dream signing for Wolves this summer. Now, Josh, you have teased this for a while. You left a little breadcrumb about PSV, I think, last week or maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yes. So Danny knows this. I've only told a few people. The player who Wolves should take Cunha's money for and target. He's American. Is anybody surprised by that? No. He can play in a number 10 role, and he is a young guy who's going to get very popular this summer at the Gold Cup, even more popular during the World Cup next year. It is Malik Tillman, who plays for PSV. Now, here are the things that are going good for Wolves for this. Malik Tillman makes 300,000 euros a year, not a week, a year. He makes 5.7 thousand euros a week. That's crazy. He's going to get a new contract, okay? Here's another guy that the World Cup's going to be important. If Vitor can go to him and go, you're going to come here, you're going to make 10 times a week what you are making, and you're going to start, which is going to look good. You're starting in the Premier League with USA trying to get the World Cup team. I think that's a good shot. Now, where it could go wrong, PSV obviously going Champions League, so they don't need to sell them for money. Bayern has a 35 million euro buyback clause, which is only good for this summer. So at the very least, it'll cost 35. Now, PSV is saying 50 million. I still think 35 is going to be the number. You're getting more than enough with Matheus Cunha money. Go get him. Sorry, PSV fans. And he's tall, says Minnesota Todd. Yes, that's my guy. That's who I'm going on the limb for. Dream signing Malik Tillman. He would replace Matheus Cunha perfectly.
All right. I like it. He had a pretty good season this year. I think I was looking this up. So when you said PSV last week, then I went kind of down that rabbit hole in the looking, and then obviously it became obvious because we all knew it would be an American who it was. 12 goals for them this season, along with 2 assists. So that's a tally I would like.
By the
Danny,
way, PSV has a stranglehold on Americans over there. Dest, and they have Pepe. And don't they have one more? I think they have one more too.
It's not coming to mind immediately, but I will look it up as Danny gives us his dream signing.
Yeah, well, nice little fun fact about Tillman, because I was just looking him up on the day that you're listening to this podcast, probably. But tomorrow for us, May 28th, is actually his birthday. So
happy birthday! Come to Wolves.
Yeah, yeah. He turns 23. So in case anybody's interested in that aspect of the value of him, I have seen him linked to Chelsea, so that sours it a little bit, because competing against a team that doesn't mind about spending stupid money on things.
But remember, Danny, it's a World Cup year. Chelsea won't be able to guarantee him time.
Yeah, who knows what the hell they're doing. Anyway, for me, I'll actually give you a couple different dream signings here. One, I'll just dredge up some old memories, which is that we were linked to Johan Wissa last season. And, if money were no object and it was possible to convince anyone, he'd be one who was right up there with me. Just such a useful operator in the Premier League, and obviously Premier League proven and blah, blah, blah. But the fact that both him and Mbeumo in the same team were approaching 20 goals, I think Mbeumo scored his 20th against us on the final day, is quite crazy for a team that, still just trying to scrap into the top 8. And he's just such a useful player across the front line. And then I'll also mention the very trendy one, which, this isn't usual for me, but I will butcher this guy's last name. Mikotadze, the Georgian player in Lyon, who's mostly a center forward. I mean, he'd be kind of perfect for competing with Strand Larsen. Transfermarkt has him about 20 million euros value, but I think that's one where it's really going to depend on who else is in for him, which could be considerable. So I think it could be a bit more than that.
The other American we were forgetting on PSV, by the way, as Todd helpfully points out in the chat as well, is Ricardo Pepe, which is Pepe is he was been injured, so maybe that's why he didn't immediately jump to mind, or maybe our brains are just fried. Anyone else have a dream signing? I mean, I've got a few. I don't feel like any of them are particularly realistic. They're also just for very silly reasons. But I think the most...
Which Greek player do you want?
There's a few. I have a list of Greek players that I want. One would be Tsimikas if we sell Ait-Nouri, although he's not as much of a wingback as Ait-Nouri was, but he's solid defensively. Liverpool's going to move him on probably when they come in for Ait-Nouri as well. It'd be cool to have a established Premier League player, but I don't see that happening. I also don't know if he's not really the profile of player I want there. He's just kind of like, oh, he plays left back. Why not? The one that I feel like maybe is realistic that I thought was going to happen when it was rumored is Andre Almeida from Valencia. He's Portuguese. He fits that mold. He's young. He's an attacking midfielder. His value has gone down because he didn't necessarily have a great season at Valencia. So I think Valencia were asking somewhere in the 20s when we were coming in for him, and they decided not to sell him. This was, I believe, just this past summer. His season was okay, but maybe that's like a good thing for Wolves because, his value has since gone down. And I believe he's valued under 20 million now, which feels like something that we can do. And I do remember listening to people talk about him when he was rumored to be coming to Wolves as like a complete ace signing and someone that would be immediately a fan favorite of Wolves supporters. So I'll go with him. And then I think it's interesting. I mean, we talked about Kyle Walker-Peters, but I don't know if anyone had a dream right back, but to me, like that is starting to become what I feel like is almost the biggest need for this team. I just, now that we like are faced with actually replacing Semedo, I'm pretty fucking scared about it.
You're not ready for the Pedro Lima season?
I would love that, but I think we're kind of far away from that. I mean, if he ever played really for us and gave us any reason to think that his manager is confident that next season could be a Lima season, I'd be very happy. But I think we need a guy who can bridge that gap. I don't know exactly who that player would be. I would also like someone who could bridge that gap with also maybe adding a little bit more offensively. And I know you might say, well, Rodrigo Gomez could do that, but he leaves a bit to be desired, as we saw in the past couple of weeks when it comes to defending. So who that magic player is, I don't know, but I think
sounds like Kiana Hoover to me.
Hey man, I'm not. We're what, 3 managers removed now from whichever one he pissed off, and so at this point, who cares? Anyway, we'll have plenty of time to talk more about transfers, so we will move on. And maybe it is transfer related, but Steve Young asks on X, what event next season will trigger the debut of the fiery Vitor? Things have been very calm. Anyone got a good guess as to what's going to make Vitor speak up first?
It depends on what your class is next season, because if it's after the final whistle blowing on this one, it could be something what we've talked to about all of these outgoings, and then Jeff Shee saying, you've got 40 million to spend.
I'm telling you, it feels like what will happen.
Yeah, that was mine.
Yeah, I've I guess told a version of this joke, previous times when we were on our nice run of wins, but I just always imagine him, really loving the pints after points lifestyle, and I just imagine, what if we go on a really bad run to start next season, and he's just like out there dying for a drink, and he just starts smashing things in the dressing room after a game where we like gave up a lead or something. It's just like, guys, I have not had a drink since last season. I need something. You got to give something to me.
That's when you need an old pint of "Don't be sad, mate."
Or what if it's on like a bad VAR call?
Yeah.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what I thought. Is like what's going to happen is we're going to get into next season and they're going to screw us on a stonewall penalty, and he's just going to lose his mind.
We don't get
He's
penalties.
gonna get a red.
That's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
We don't even get the VAR inquest.
Couple that with the pints after points, and it's just a perfect storm.
Yeah. Todd says that we will see a fired up Vitor when we go winless through September. Yeah, probably again. Hate to be negative, but just let us have something nice for I would love to welcome Sunderland back to the Premier League at Molineux or something like that. Like, can't we just for once have it good on the opening parts of a season? We got a couple Cunha related questions, and one is actually from Todd, who's also throwing out what I would consider to be something a bit conspiratorial, and he asks whether or not the only reason Strand Larsen didn't start on Sunday was to prevent him from taking the top goal scorer away from Cunha. Anyone buying that?
I don't know. I'll buy it. I'll go along with Todd's conspiracies.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll frame it less of a conspiracy, but it's like the player's player of the season, where it's like, it's not a conspiracy, but it's just, I'm not one to say that there isn't some staff member in the club who saw the online voting and all the very online people were grumpy at Cunha, so they didn't give him player of the season. They didn't give him goal of the season. And they pulled Nelson Semedo aside and said, Nelson, you really got to talk to all the players and make them vote for Cunha for player of the season. And for perhaps the same reason, there was a little handshake agreement about Cunha starting that game and Strand Larsen coming on much later.
So my theory is Vitor thought that Wolves were finally going to get a penalty in this game, and he was afraid that Cunha was going to actually throw a punch at Strand Larsen, and he stepped up and tried to take it. So in order to avoid all of that, he just sat Strand Larsen on the bench for the first 60 minutes.
But if Vitor was really playing chess and not checkers, he could say, well, if Cunha gets thrown out of a game for punching a teammate and gets a straight red, he would have to miss his first 3 matches in a United shirt. Maybe we get United in the first few weeks next season. We do seem to face them early and often. Why not? I don't know. I like it.
He's going to score on us, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. And then, boy, you thought Alex was pissed off at the celebration that Neto have. I can't even imagine the celebration Cunha would have.
Okay.
When if he does the Hawthorns finger in the air celebration at Molineux, there might be an actual riot on the field.
Yes, but I would also like to just remind everybody, Pedro Neto did not score that goal, which is what was so annoying about it. Okay? I mean, it would have been annoying if he celebrated. If he scored, he probably wouldn't have celebrated. But just going absolutely buck wild for someone else's goal against your former team it's just silly.
Oh, good. You set up an assist against Craig Dawson.
Yeah. Wow.
Grow up.
I forgot to put Craig Dawson on the stay or go thing.
Oh, that one's.
Do we need to?
Yeah.
He's already gone.
Has anyone seen him in England?
I think it's the Craig Dawson hat trick next season that's going to bring about fiery Vitor Pereira against us. He turns up at Sunderland or something.
Oh my God. And then on Cunha and his personality, Chris Fisher asked, given his high opinion of himself, which musical diva does Cunha remind you of? Danny, do you have any divas?
Yeah, this is an excuse to tell an anecdote that I just read about. So I do think that Cunha could remind me of Prince. They're both very pretty men. And an anecdote I just read from the cast of the Bourne Ultimatum, they were at the premiere in London, and Prince went to go see it, and invited them, of course, back to where he was living in London. And Matt Damon said, "So you live in Minnesota? I hear you live in Minnesota." And Prince responded, "I live inside my own heart, Matt Damon." And that feels like a Cunha Instagram story if I've ever heard one. I live inside my own heart. Only the real fans will understand what that means, or whatever nonsense.
It does feel a bit like you're trolling, given that we've got some Minnesota folks both watching and joining us on the panel today.
Only respect for Prince.
Okay.
Prince has earned it.
Fair enough.
It's probably accurate. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
He shares his initials with Mariah Carey as well, which is all.
I thought
Madonna.
Mariah was a very good one. Although she's actually like a
lot of talent,
star.
A lot of talent, a lot of presence, but some extra.
Some extra, yeah.
I'm going down a similar route that a lot of the time she comes across as quite nice and pretty genuine, but I think she's got a real mean bitch streak in her. I think he's like Adele.
Right.
Adele. Yeah, I like that.
So I actually admittedly read this. My daughter's in musical theater, so I read this as an actual musical, and I feel like she is Galinda, or Matthias is Galinda from Wicked, where like Elphaba is actually the one who has all the talent and is the one, scores all the goals, similar to Strand Larson, but Galinda has like no idea that people might not like her diva attitude, and I feel like that's straight up Matthias Cunha's alley right there.
That's pretty spot on.
Yeah, that's pretty money. That's the winner. By the way, just speaking of Matthias and his antics, is Geddes his best moment? Well, it wasn't Matthias, I guess, is the only reason it wouldn't have been. If he'd have done the crying thing when Cunha was saying goodbye, then I would say that was his best moment in a Wolves shirt ever. But the fact that he did it with Semedo was just a little bit clueless. Damn.
But here's a question: if you take that diva-ness or that diva-ishness out of Cunha, do you lose the player that he is?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I think it's a package deal, because like some of the best goals that he's scored, even this season, have just been those instinctual, like that one against Fulham, and not the one that he picked out of the air from Lamina, but the one that was just a simple pass, sort of 1-2 from João Gomez, and just instinctively with his right foot puts in the top corner. That's the kind of thing that you can't have that kind of confidence without also a decent measure of delusion. So
What did he have? One goal his first 6 months here, and it was like off a deflection too, and he went totally nuts over that one. But yeah, once he became kind of more of the focal point, actually as a number 10 and not the number 9, he started putting in worldies, and yeah, just like you said, Greg, the diva was a big part of that, but also gave him the confidence to start trying those shots as well. And we go a whole season without any goals outside the 18, and now, like, how many did he have for us this year too?
Yeah. So that brings up I want to do this as my own no stupid question. I'm going to play bookmaker here, like Joshua Buckley, and very quickly run through.
I'm game.
Very quickly, Paul, Matthias Cunha had 15 goals for Wolves this year, his best domestic season in his career. Over or under 15.5 goals for Matthias Cunha next season?
Under.
Drew?
Under.
Danny?
wow, I think over.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Joe, over under 15.5.
Under.
I think Joe takes under.
I'm under.
You don't hear me?
Josh, what do you think?
I'm sorry, guys. Under.
I think I take under.
Yeah. Todd says under, but barely. Greg?
Depends where he goes. I mean, he hasn't signed yet for Manchester United, but I think he could do more than that. I'm gonna be the contrarian on the panel for that one.
Okay. Over. And Ray, round us out.
Definitely under, because United is a dumpster fire, and I can't account for any goodness over there.
Does anyone, without cheating, know how many goals Manchester United's leading scorer, or I'll give you a hint, there were two with the same scorers, had this season? Very Wolves-esque.
Double
4.
digits.
It was 8. Bruno Fernandes and Amad Diallo with 8 goals. So if he is over 50.5, Man United is going to be fucking thrilled, and they'll be like, I'm so glad we got this guy. Believe me, that will be a majorly impactful season for them.
Our defense was just so bad. I just looked it up, and Man United scored 10 fewer goals than us and
Insane.
finished in the place above us and are also objectively awful.
Bad. I mean, otherworldly bad under Gary O'Neill. I don't even think we've said his name yet on this podcast, which is crazy. And then spurts of pretty bad with Vitor, which is kind of concerning, but you know. All right, let's wrap up on this one. How about some positivity from Matthew Silva, who emailed us hello@wholelotofwolves.com asking whether Munetzi's worldie will be a turning point for a double-digit goal-scoring return next season, or foreshadowing the same amount but in missed sitters. Josh, you've called this guy Dendonker. I don't know if it was you, but somebody said before they kind of wish that this wasn't the last game when he actually scored this, so that maybe he could carry this over. Paul, what do you think? Can a really nice goal in May carry over to August?
Based on what we've just mentioned, I want to say he's got to score more than Mateus Cunha next season.
Oh, hell yeah.
All right, write that one down.
Yeah, Paul, I will book that bet, Paul. I would be happy
I
to
don't
book
care
that.
what the odds are. Give it to me.
Yeah. If anyone could find that bet to be had on any of the apps, literally, please, that would be so fun.
They would not take it because they think it was Mateus Cunha putting that in.
Yeah. Which I'm here for if he wants to fix it and then miss chances purposefully all season and bet on Munetzi. I mean, he had a lot of chances, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. Of course, I wonder how many of those chances were created by Cunha. But anyway, thanks to everyone who chimed in with your no stupid questions, and thanks to our friends at Esfuerzo Wines for bringing you no stupid questions all season, a 5th season of Whole Lot of Wolves. And now we get to enjoy the summer season. Get your wines as you plan your barbecues and your rooftop hangs and your days in the park from Esfuerzo, esfuerzowines.com. Don't forget to use the promo code VITOR for a discount at checkout.
All right, guys, time to close the show, but we need to make a special recognition, and that is to Joe Deluski for earning for Michigan Wolves Newcomer Group of the Year. Congratulations, Joe. You want to give a little victory acceptance speech?
Thanks. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to check. No, wow, what a great honor that was. I didn't know about it, but David Copy and Kristen were in Wolverhampton, and they were like messaging me, and how awesome that is. It's been just awesome working with the club, with everybody who's listening and being part of this, and for the folks in my Michigan group, there are people who have helped build a pretty strong supporter group here in Michigan, and I was great. I mean, it's really cool. There's I don't know if anybody saw the pictures, but there's a jersey, one of the third kit jerseys that's signed by the entire team that's going to hang at Molyneux. So the Michigan Wolves will forever, well, at least while I can think of it, have a permanent place at Molyneux, and we're just really excited about that. And I'm headed over to Molineux in probably mid to late September. I'm going to a friend's wedding, but I'm going to try to get a match or two in while I'm there, and hopefully get a picture with the jersey fixture there. But yeah, how awesome! It's been absolute blast over the last 12 months working with the club and with everybody here on what we've done. So appreciate it.
What'll be great, Joe, is that that kit is autographed by players who are actually going to be there next season. Unlike all those at Fort Lauderdale that got it signed by Nelson Semedo, Mario Lamina, and Ted Neto. I don't really know what I'm glad I didn't frame this kit that I have over here. It may just go into the closet later. Also, thanks to all of our guests. Drew Freakin, how can we get a hold of you?
At Drew Freakin on X. Also, if you're in the Pittsburgh area, Steel City Wolves. Good positive Facebook group going, and watching games at the Pitch on Butler.
Ray, you're the representative for Minnesota Wolves.
Yeah, we post on Instagram and some not really X anymore, Blue Sky, MN_WWFC. But come see us at Black Heart of St. Paul here in the Twin Cities.
And Greg, where can we find your comedy?
You can follow it on the socials on Greg Ellis Comedy, and links to the gigs and stuff I'll have will be on there. I did a soundtrack for a short film that's coming out in a couple of months, so I'll post links to that as well.
Now, this isn't an OnlyFans film, right? This is legit.
Unfortunately, not. No.
Unfortunately,
but if
starring Todd DeWitt, aka Triple X.
It's called it's as a callback to earlier. It's called A Man of Many Inches.
Okay, a man of many inches.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it's about tall people. That's what it's about. How tall are you, Paul? I saw you were referred to as Tall Paul a couple of times.
I'm 6'6".
I'm the same.
Okay.
Are you really?
Yeah. We could high five each other.
That's what everybody thought. I was freaking 4'8" when I take a photo beside Paul. It's no, I'm not that short.
Paul and Greg are half of the basketball team from Wolverhampton.
Now, were you also called Bungle the Bear, Greg?
I wasn't. No, unfortunately, not. No rainbow references in my background.
So, everyone, that brings season 5 of Whole Lot of Wolves to an end, and what a season it has been. It's felt like the absolute longest on record, even with delays and World Cup. So thank you for bearing with us, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have a show. Thanks to Danny on the socials, as always, Alex producing. Please keep your dial on wherever you listen or watch Whole Lot of Wolves throughout the summer, as after a short break, we're going to be back with some exclusive content at various stages during the summer to help the pre-season pass by a little quicker. So, everyone, all that's left to say is up the mighty Wolves.